evening, everyone. Welcome back to You Know What Show It Is. What's Gannin On? Mark and Chris back behind the mic on Monday. I've just give you top billing there, Mark. Mark and Chris rather than that. And Decker's like Deck and Ant. I've swapped it around the other way around. Why not? I'll treat you for the return of What's Gannin On. You guys have wanted it. It's been a few weeks since we've done it, so I thought we'd come back with the Monday show, 9:30 slot, where we're going to talk about all things Newcastle United and other things outside Newcastle United as well. And what I normally say is what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Neither me or Mark are going to run away and join another podcast. I can guarantee you that. It may be happening in other parts of your life, but it ain't happening on this podcast. That's for damn sure. So let's get stuck in. Before we do, smash like and subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Come and help us get to the next milestone, which is 13,000. We're nearly at 12,500, so we're buzzing for that. Thank you for everyone who's clicked the button. It's all free content, never more. But if you do want to become a member, there is options down there below. You can join the Discord group, which is much safer than the social media Wild West these days, where you get shot at just for having an opinion. It's much safer in the Discord group, and we are going to have loads of giveaways in 2026 for members in the channel list. So why not hit that button? But how are you, Mark? Anyway, long time since we've been in the old WGO seat. Does it feel comfortable?
I know it's been a few months actually since a proper what's going on. We've done a couple of post matches. We did the transfer one, but yeah, it feels good. I've missed it. I'll be honest with you. I do like our Monday nights. I do like the oddness that it brought. I like the quirkiness that we had and the out of tune stuff that we managed to find. And there's some weird stuff. And yes, thank you very much, Chippers. I have got
I was just going to say, Chippers has already got...
Cheers.
How long have we been away, Chippers? Mark is great. How long have we been away? My God, he looks like Gandalf the Great now. It's just that's what he's doing. And I'm not going to make any jokes about stats because Chippers is clearly feeling cheeky tonight, so I ain't doing that. I'll set him up for a tap in there. Unlike Newcastle United, who can't set anything up at the minute. But we're going to get stuck right. We've got loads to go through tonight. You know the normal drill for what's going on. If you haven't checked it out before, we'll let you know. We've got a few topics to cover, which is generally all Newcastle United. And then we have a little bit of out of tune at the end of it, which is talking about things outside of Newcastle United. And boy, is there a few people on that list tonight that should be interesting to see. But let's get stuck in then, Mark, in terms of the first category. And we covered this a little bit in terms of the post-match and the aftermath as well. But the issue that I've got at the minute, if you allow us a second, with Newcastle United is it literally is like Groundhog Day watching this football club at the moment. Normally it's reserved from away from home, but we saw an away performance really at St James's Park. I mean, I've got to credit Aston Villa because Aston Villa come to Newcastle. They had a game plan. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They were very professional with it. They carried out their tasks to a man. Apart from the goalkeeper, who we'll come to in a minute, who spent more time, who wasted more time than fucking Doctor Who, I think, to be fair. But the Newcastle United in itself, though, we clearly were missing a talisman, and that massively affected us, I think. But in terms of the tactics and everything, Mark, again, it was all just pass with no killer pass, really, no kind of creative spark, no cutting edge. We were as blunt as a butter knife, and when you're playing against the top three teams in the league, like we have done with Arsenal, Man City, and Villa now at St James's Park, we beat one of them. But I don't understand, how is it that we as fans and most people can see what the hell is going wrong with this team setup, this tactics and everything else, but a manager keeps just doing the same shit week in, week out, the same formation. When he changes it, he just brings on different players to play in the same positions as the lads he's taken off with the same tactics, and he gets the same results, which is invariably not a win. What is going on with Newcastle United? What's going on with Newcastle United, as the show was called tonight? I mean, what's going on?
That is the question. Yeah, you touched on some of this in the aftermath. I think, and certainly in the post match, and saying that it wasn't a bad performance, and I don't think it wasn't terrible. And 2/3 of the field was pretty good. Like the in the main defended pretty well. Goalkeeper was very good. That final third was it was shocking. And I don't know what has happened to Wissa. His ability to carry the ball, which we've seen at Brentford, was good. He's able to run in behind and run through with the ball and finish well. that seems to have vanished off the face of the cliff. But the inability to adapt to their surroundings, and I think that's the key. I was watching the Geordie journals earlier and talking about it's almost pointless talking about trying to doing something else because we know Eddie Howe's not going to. He's very much established his 4-3-3. It's going to stay as a 4-3-3, and that's exactly what he wants. We're not going to see the number 10 role, really. We're not going to see anything like that. We are going to stay with the
nobody to play it.
I was going to say that, well, exactly, but the tried and trusted is what we've seen over the last 4.5 years, and in the main, it's worked an awful lot of the time. But there is a staleness to this now, and looking over the last few games, where I think Newcastle have been particularly good is when they're able to get teams that come high up the pitch and then hit them, and we've seen them get in behind with the likes of Gordon and for Isaac as well last season, and even Callum Wilson to that extent beforehand. The teams are now settling in, and Villa did an awful lot of this where they just went, come on then, and then we're going to play through you. Wolves pretty much the same. I mean, if you look at the last, I'm going to say sort of 8 Premier League games, it might be 9 or 10. There's a good chunk of about 6 of those where Newcastle have had 60% pretty much or more percent of possession and not created an awful lot or conceded an awful lot of chances, and not really created the clear-cut ones themselves. The Leeds game's a bit of an outlier because of the four goals and that, but defensively they were pretty shambolic in that game and conceding those 3 games. But this transition into a possession side, it just doesn't suit the players that are there. So it seems like trying to transition this team before it's ready to. That for me, that's ultimately the biggest problem is trying to get the players in positions that, or to do things that they're not ready to do. And it's such a huge tell yesterday that Bruno was missing, because he's the only one that has that real spark of ingenuity about him. Everybody else is very much steady. You know, they're good runners, they're good athletes. They'll work hard, they'll battle for 90 minutes. All of the good stuff that you associate with that intense side. But there is no spark. And when teams do sit deep, when Villa particularly just sat and went, just bring it on. We're going to do what we want to do on the break, and they did an awful lot of that in the week, and that I think that was a good prelude to this game for them, where they sat almost back against Fenerbahce and then broke quickly, and they did the sort of same thing against Newcastle. And Newcastle's that inability to just have that spark of just something a little bit different to break a team down, and this is where Newcastle are at the moment. It's going to be the same.
Yeah, I think you're right with everything you say there. But my big issue with the team, and certainly the manager as well, is we lost. Let's get it right. You know, the dust has settled a little bit for the emotion that we all felt in the summer. Yeah, we still think he's a prick, right? No more than me, right? But Alexander Isak was the second best striker in the Premier League, one of the best centre forwards in Europe when we lost him. He had the X factor. He had the ability to turn some of them shit games. That, let's get it right, we saw some of that last season, but the difference was we had a guy at the end of the pitch who could just turn it on and do something out of nothing, something completely miraculous out of a shit pass or a defensive mistake, or the ball come to him and he just dropped a shoulder and bang, it's in the back of the net. And that saved us and got us so many points last season, and got us 5th and got us a cup, right? And we lost him in the summer, and I think all of the kind of noise around the way he left, as fans, maybe took a little bit away from us, the player that we were losing. And I generally think the planning at the football club, and I don't just blame Hal for that, I blame upstairs as well, because all the stories are coming out of the wash now, but the new Isak was itching to leave way before he did, right? And they still didn't do their due diligence. They still didn't get their shit together. They still didn't go and sign the centre forward that Eddie Howe wanted to work in this system, right? Eddie Howe wants to play a 4-3-3 with a fast striker who can get in behind, who's strong and quick, can pull something out of nothing like Alexander Isak could do, right? That's why when for Ekitike didn't get him, That's why we went for Sesko, didn't get him, right? They were the two main strikers that Howe clearly wanted to bring in. So my issue with this is they go out and get. I think Wissa was always going to come in because he was Wilson's replacement. He was always going to be the one earmarked for Callum Wilson's replacement. I understand that because is Wissa an upgrade on Wilson? Yeah, he is because he scored more goals. He was fit there. Looks a better player, all that kind of stuff, right? The injury to Wissa kind of takes away what you think Wissa could have done. How he's come back and been fucking worse is beyond me, by the way, since he's been injured. Apart from the fact his knee injuries probably cost him a yard of pace. But he went and signed Wissa as the Wilson replacement. And then we went and signed Nick Voltemada as the Isak replacement. He was the big money signing, right? And this is the bit, this has to go back to the manager. Because Nick Voltemada came in, he was still on a high from his time at Stuttgart and his time with Germany. And that kind of high to the new club where he was the main centre forward, every shot he was hitting was going in the back of the net. Really, we were seeing flicks, we were seeing tricks, we were seeing touches like Berbatov. And we were going, wow, what a player we got here. But he's nothing like Alexander Isak. So we can't play in the same way with this guy. We have to do something different, right? And it's been, what, 20 odd games now, Mark? And they still aren't playing to this guy's strengths. And now what the manager's done is the minute that Wissa's fit, he's went, oh, well, there's someone who runs similar to what Isak used to. I'll just hook this kid out at the starting lineup. And everybody lauds Eddie Howe as this brilliant man manager. Look at the state of Nick Voltemada's form and confidence at the minute because he's been whipped out of this team at 23 years old after getting, 8 goals or something like that? I don't understand how the manager's inability to get this team working around Nick Voltemada, who, let's get it right, should be the long-term Newcastle United number 9, right? Because Wissa is 29. He's already had a bad fucking injury there that's probably set him back another year or two. And now it seems to be, with, he's given up on Voltemada as the main centre forward and Vissa's the man, And I don't understand where all this has come from. We'll get the transfers in a minute, but you cannot absolve the manager for his complete lack of flexibility, ability to adapt that team around Nick Voltemada. We've seen the kid's got quality. He's got touch. He's got awareness. He's got vision. He can score goals, but he likes to drop deep and he likes people to run beyond him. A bit like what Harry Kane's doing for Bayern Munich at the minute and doing very well. That's why Bayern Munich wanted to sign Nick Voltemada. But we have completely fucked this whole thing in the summer by signing clearly the players that doesn't fit Eddie Howe's system. And Eddie Howe is unwilling to adapt to this system. And I think that's what's happened here, Mark. That's why this game plan is being figured out, because he's trying to play like he was last season with Alexander Isak with these two new centre forwards. And it's just not working, man.
No, and the some of it, I'm tempted to absolve Eddie of some of the issues, because some of the issues on the field he can't control. The wayward crosses, the 5-yard passes that goes through, that sort of thing you can't control. But it's the setup, it's the way that you involve those players, it's the way that you engage those players and get those players to work together on the field. One of the biggest telling sort of facts for me, for certainly for Voltemada, is he went through that sort of brilliant run from when he sort of came in. He was scoring goals. He very rarely didn't have much of a game. He's not your stereotypical 9. We know that he's not going to do all of the things a number 9 does, but he is good at what he is. But one of the telling stats for me, it's certainly for Voltemada, over I think it's like the last 9 games since the Chelsea game where he scored twice. Those 9 games he has 5 shots, and 2 of those were against Wolves. If you've got a centre forward that's not even getting shots on goal, there's something really, really wrong about the way that you're approaching a football game. You've got to, and especially when you've dropped 60 odd 70 million on a striker, you have to be getting them into position. You have to be working around getting them into a position for them to get shots on goal.
Where's the coaching? Where's this brilliant Monday? Where's this brilliant Monday to Friday coach then? Where's all that?
What I don't get, and this continued narrative that, well, because of the midweek games, because of the cups, and because of this, they're not training. That's fine. Like other teams cope with not training, with not doing the stuff on the pitch. But what else are you doing? It's all right to kind of not talk about that. But these players aren't stupid. Like they understand how to play a game of football.
Should do.
Where's the video coaching? Where's the and if this is happening, why is this not being planned out in your game plans for what to do? We see other managers endless amounts of sort of video coaching, especially when you're not able to do all the stuff on the field. And I get that you're not going to have heavy training sessions like with a 3-day gap between a Premier League game on a Sunday and a Champions League game on a Wednesday. It can't happen. I understand that, but the amount of work that goes on involved and around, it's not just on the field, but they're not. I feel like Voldemort is being almost scapegoated again by some, and
I think so.
And
yeah,
we've seen some of them. Look, I genuinely think he's a really good footballer, but he's not being helped by what he's being served up by everybody else, and Eddie has to put him in a position to be able to do the best job for the team. And the only way to do that is to get everybody around him to be giving him the chances and put him in the best position. And they're just not playing to his strengths at all. It just doesn't look like they have any idea of how to play to his strengths. Initially, it worked, but it's gone completely.
So here's a suggestion, right? And I'm just a fucking idiot doing a YouTube channel, right? So here's a suggestion. So Bruno Guimaraes is our most creative player, right? Why has he not tried to put Tonali and Miley in a double pivot midfield, who are both really good at looking after the ball, can both defend, push Bruno Guimaraes up further behind Nick Voltemada when he's in the 9, and then support him with that creative spark? And then if you're up against it, Bruno can drop back into the midfield, but he can push up further because you got Tonali and Miley in behind, and then you've got your back four. He's never tried that. He never tried anything different like that at all. Yeah, he threw Voltemada in the 10 because he's good with his feet and all that kind of stuff, right? What did he do, right? He created a chance for Visser that if he wasn't wearing his fucking slippers, he would have scored, right? And then he set up a cracking goal for Harvey Barnes. So technically, he set up 2 chances that should have been 2 goals in that Bournemouth game, in that number 10 position. Never played in there again. Never played in there again. And I don't understand, what he's doing with the player. I generally don't. I mean, I bet you Nick Voltemada's starting to look around now, going, "What have I done wrong? I've come in here, I've scored 8 odd goals. I've worked hard for the team. I've played so much football. Now he's back. You've just benched us. I don't get it. And you come on at the weekend, and honest to God, that is the furthest cry away from that player that first signed that I've seen. It was actually quite sad to see Nick Voltemada at the weekend. He just had nothing about it. I think there was only one little bit of play where I think he got the ball at his feet and he trapped it and turned and did that little quick, shuffle of feet that he does. And nobody was around to pass the ball to, apart from Lewis Hall, I think, surprisingly enough. We should just have 11 Lewis Halls, might win the league, but just I couldn't understand what's happened to this player. And I'm thinking, because Eddie's in charge of transfers. So Eddie's had to agree to sign this player. He's had to watch this player. He's had to agree to sign this player. He's supposed to be quite an astute manager who should know how that player plays. But yet he's signed him, and it's like, right, I'm going to turn you into Alexander Isak. No, you're not, because he's not Alexander Isak. So what are you trying to do?
I think the easiest thing is to say, there needs to be another Isak. That's there isn't going to be. The players of that ilk don't come along that easily, and I think not Newcastle didn't get very lucky with him because they spent an awful lot of money on Isak when he came in, but the caliber of play was sort of there to be seen in the background. For the way that it's set up, and you sort of talked about Bruno playing forward, we've seen that he just carries the mantle and does it anyway.
Yeah.
So the setup is to play with that. When the going gets tough, Bruno gets going. And Bruno's the one that I was tempted. I was tempted. I've got the mic. I'm ready to go.
Swim any sea. Sorry, but
is it? You've talked about this, and I think from Craig Hope has said that he puts the superhero cape on, and you see that in games where everything else is kind of turned to shit, and Bruno goes, well, I've got to do it. I have to do everything now, so I have to
Yeah.
work back. I have to get into those positions to create some. This isn't the setup of the game. This isn't the way that the side is put together to attack that game. This is we've seen this in the last 10 or 15 minutes of games where Bruno just goes, "Fuck this, I'm going to take this on and I'm going to score. I'm going to create something. I'm going to do something a little bit different." And that's without that, everything else is just really flat. And when you have nothing to be able to break down the other side, the strikers are going to suffer massively because of that.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a problem with the centre forwards. He's got a problem with the fact that his signings, bar Malik Chow, don't look like they've really done much. But again, I think you got to give Voltemade a little bit of slack because of what's going on. I think that's down to the manager's tactical ineptitude and inflexibility. You know, if Nick Voltemade was playing for Unai Emery, I think you would get the best out of him. I think if he was playing for, dare I say, Xavi Alonso or something like that, I think you would get the best out of him, because Eddie Howe just seems to be too one-dimensional. And listen, what Eddie Howe has done for Newcastle has worked, right? But it ain't working anymore. And that's the truth of the matter. It ain't working anymore. Newcastle aren't the team they used to be under Eddie Howe. They're not intense. They're not on the front foot. You know, in terms of the next category that we're talking about, have we gone soft? That's the big thing that everybody's been asking now. And I think that was a big thing for me, Mark, from the game. Aston Villa, I think I said it in the post-match, they performed so many dark arts. Lord Voldemort would have been fucking proud of Aston Villa, on the sideline watching them lot play. Going down, I think I saw Tillemans, Louis Miley nudged him in the back and he was holding his calf. And he still conned Jared Gillett into thinking it was a foul.
I was looking at that today. To be fair to him, he did get raked down the back of his heel for that one. But some of it was
only a 19-year-old boy.
One of the. I don't think it was a.
Get up, man.
I don't for 1 second believe that anything like that was intentional. The one I didn't, the one that everybody witnessed was this.
This was ridiculous.
I mean, it's just pathetic.
I mean, even Konza's embarrassed at that. When you look at the video there, for anybody listening on the audio, that was the video of Emi Martinez when he collects the ball, decides to kind of back into the post, I think, hold his back and go down, hold his spine in sheer agony. And even Konza was sick of it by that particular point. But Martinez was wasting every single minute that he had. The Villa players were going down. There was one point, I think, it was Joe Litton put a couple of tackles in. I think the second one was probably a foul, but two Villa players seem to, go down simultaneously, like Torvald Dean doing a fucking bolero, lying on the floor, holding themselves. And you're like, what's going on here? Then Joe Litton gets booked. At one point, the referee lost so much control of the game that Harvey Barnes just shoved a player mid-run, which is very un-Harvey Barnes-like, because he was getting that annoyed by things. But I can't even be that pissed off with Villa, because Newcastle were this good 2 years ago like this. Everybody hated us. We were time wasting, people tying laces, keepers tying laces. Joe Litton fouling, Fabian Schär having 19 head injuries a game going down, holding his head. We were wasting time. Phil's right, shithousery at its finest. And Leo says Martinez is such a shithouse. But this is what Newcastle are lacking. I think I was listening to the True Faith guys, and they made a really good point. Every time there was a decision, Villa were around the referee, putting pressure on him to make a decision. Newcastle weren't doing that. And listen, I don't like the whole Man U surround the referee shit back in the day with Roy Keane and all that. There's a line between it, but they were on the referee trying to make him make decisions. The Villa fans were up in the sticks. They were making noise about it. The referee lost control of the game. He's a dreadful referee, but he was so easily swayed by Villa in that game. And Newcastle used to do stuff like that. But I don't know what's happened. We've gone from being a front foot intense team that'll just chase you and hurry you down to get the ball back, and then when we get the ball back, and we get into a lead, we manage it well with a little bit of time waste and a little bit of shithousery. We've lost all of that. We've lost all of that wiliness, that in-game management, that ability to do it. And I don't know whether is it because some of the players who are great at that have aged out. Fabian Schär's in his mid-30s, Trips is in his mid-30s. Is the game just coming too fast-paced for those players, Mark? The shithouses of They're too busy blowing out their arse to be shithouses because the game is passing them by. Is it that? Is the fact that, or is it we've evolved into a different team? But this team is nowhere near as good of a team as that one. The team a couple of years ago would batter this team, this Newcastle team. It would batter it,
Oh, they
absolutely
did.
smash it to pieces. Yeah.
They absolutely did, and they did it by being ruthless. They did it by not kicking them all over the field, but they got in their faces. They rattled them. How many times have we seen the Villa players get rattled by Joe Linton because he wasn't running around mindlessly, but he got stuck in. He got in their faces. He was shouting.
Yeah.
He was bawling. He was spitting at them. Basically,
I thought
not
Joe
literally,
Linton was
but you know what I mean.
Good until he got injured though at the weekend. Joe Linton was a bit like that at the weekend until he got injured.
He did get stuck in, and I think to a point he was pretty much the only one that did that. And we've seen that from previous games against Villa when Newcastle are at their best against them. They are brutal, and it felt really meek. They've just this softness around them that has gone. And you're right. 2 years ago, Newcastle were shithouses. That you would see Pope take a little bit longer on a goal kick, or he would take a little bit longer to get up, or Kieran Trippier would take a little bit longer, or they would just be all of those little things. There would be those little cynical fouls, all that kind of stuff that went on in the game. That seems to have gone. They seem to have been evolved away from that and that intenseness that was there. And I think that's driven by, I guess, the nature of the way that they play. But it just seems to have disappeared from them. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's the age thing for some of them has got on. But look at the age of the players on the field at the weekend. There was only Trippier that was of that older squad.
Yeah.
Pope's not that old, and he's experienced enough to still do some of that stuff. The rest are a little bit younger. I don't think you'll get as much of that out of Hall and out of Miley, but the rest are experienced pros. They're not like they're unused to doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some of this horribleness come back to Newcastle to get them back into just to really piss everybody off and to. I mean, what the Villa players did really well was they got the crowd on the back of the referee and on them, and they turned that horribleness into an advantage for themselves. Newcastle just haven't done that, and they need to get that. They need to get back to doing at least some of that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So we've got super chat in from KS991. Thank you, buddy. Great show, lads. Why won't you try the youth? That's a question that I asked as well in the aftermath and the post-match, that especially when you're 2-0 down at Aston Villa and you've got young Leo Shahar on the bench, who's still on the bench even though Burns back and Asula's back. So they obviously rate the kid, the fact that he's still on the bench. Why not just give the kid 15, 20 minutes? What harm is it going to do? We were never going to get back into that game. Never going to get back in that game at all. And what would have happened if the kid had, flew into a tackle and fucking laced the Villa player and the whole crowd would have started cheering his name, or he burst down the line, whipped the ball in and somebody scored a header. Do you know what I mean? That would have given the kids so much confidence. And if you're good enough, you're old enough. Two of our best players in the team right now are 19 and 20. One come through the academy and the other one was signed from Chelsea. So I don't understand how his reluctance to try the youth. You've said before, why won't he try Neve? Why doesn't he give Neve a run out? When Voltemada was struggling and there was no centre forwards. Why doesn't he give Alabi a run out? We played Bournemouth in the FA Cup, and I still can't understand why he didn't give 3 or 4 of them kids a start and rest some of his top players for the Man City game. Because if we got beaten from Bournemouth, who were a good side, but these young lads had played really well and got good experience against a proper Premier League team, it would have done them the world of good as well. So it was a really piss poor decision by the manager again. But it's so weird, but just because this manager won a cup, it acts like a force field for him that people completely, won't criticize him for anything, right? Let's get it right. We have been pretty shit since the cup final last season. And as I said there, the large reason that we got top 5 last season was because between Tonali and Isak and Bruno from time to time, they carried us over the line. three really, really good players, arguably world class in some moments, certainly Isaac, and they carried us over the line. But there were so many performances towards the back end of last season, even when we weren't good enough. This season, lost Isaac, we lost that spark. Tonali's fell off a cliff with his form. Bruno's been brilliant, but nobody else has stepped up. Gordon's been rubbish. Barnes has done well. Barnes has pulled us out the shit several times over the last kind of few weeks, right? But we got some really difficult games coming up this week. We got Paris Saint-Germain on Wednesday. The preview will be out for that tomorrow, guys. Then we've got Liverpool at Anfield. Listen, Liverpool are shit this season, and I can't hide my joy from that as much as I even try. We'll get into that in Out of Toon.
Be careful.
Hey, listen, mate, the amount of shit I got off those wank shafts over the summer, they're all getting a double barrels, Uncle Fester and the rest of the fucking Adams family. But we really could go to Anfield. There's never been a better time to go to Anfield and get points, right? But we are so inept away from home, so devoid of a plan that I just can't see it, And I'll get into that preview later on in the week, but I just can't see it, And a manager has a shelf life. Doesn't matter whether he wins one cup, a league, a cup, a fucking Champions League. Managers have shelf lives, and whether you like it or not, modern day football, it's about 3 or 4 years, Mark, isn't it? And players start to grow stale. Players start to switch off from the manager. Sometimes you need a refresh. And I really do think Eddie Howe is at that stage now where whatever magic he had before just isn't working anymore. You can see that from the sideline.
Yeah, it goes back, as I said before, there's a staleness about them. And they need a spark. They need a kick, and there doesn't seem to be. We've seen this in games as well, where things haven't been going right, and the side going at half time and come out and seem to be even worse than they were before they've even.
What does he say?
What the fuck is he saying at half time? and you're right. Newcastle have got a chance to go to Anfield and really have a go and get something. Liverpool haven't won a game in the last 5 in the league. But
it's mad for Liverpool, isn't it?
It's insane, and but you almost know what the script's going to be at the weekend. And we know the team that's going to go out pretty much, bar the injuries, I guess. But the
tactics,
the script,
the formation, it all.
The script is written. We know the way that they're going to set up. We know the way they're going to attack the game. We know, there'll be little spurts of things here and there. Go back to the game yesterday. For all Anthony Gordon has been derided recently. Actually, in the first half, he looked fairly decent at his point in which he kind of gone, well, I can get past Matty Cash. I can run past him. I can do. His crossing was awful at the end of it.
Well, I was going to say, who did he cross to, mate? He was crossing the fucking Gary and the fucking Gallagher end, or what? That's who he was. That's who he was crossing to.
But I like the way that he attacked the fullback, and that's again something that he really has to do, especially if Frimpong's playing too, because Frimpong will get caught further up the field. But like I said, we know the script, we know the way that it will turn around. But I said this a couple of weeks ago when we did the transfer one, when you're looking at it, might have been one of the game ones. When things aren't right, you have to try something. You have to be able to adapt slightly to what's going on around you. And it would come back to the comparison between the two clubs, because they are quite similar in Villa and Newcastle. If you go back a couple of years ago, Villa played pretty much a 4-3-3 with wide players a little bit like them, played more inverted, I think. They came to St James's Park this week with no real wide players. They played with 10s. They're adapt to the way that, or the players that they've got and the way that they need to attack the game, the players that, they've adapted that. Eddie Howe hasn't adapted at all to anything. He hasn't adapted to the centre forward that he's got, or the two centre forwards he's got to change the way that they approach the game. And you've got to try something. The youth will be something. I saw one of the comments that came through before. The young players have got a lack of fear about things. They'll try things. They'll go. We've seen that from Miley. We've seen that from Hall. At the weekend, why you talked about Shahar coming on. They could have brought on Alex Murphy and moved Hall further forward to go and get involved in the play further forward because he's good enough to go and do it. I just, it's so, it is so frustrating to watch the same thing over and over and
boring.
over again, and
Boring is what it is.
becomes monotonous. It does, and I said it's stale, and something's got to change.
Yeah, to be fair, I think you're maybe being a bit too generous to Anthony Gordon. I don't think I've ever seen a more overrated winger in my entire fucking life. We grew up watching proper wingers. We grew up watching Ryan Giggs at full pelt, David Ginola, Nedved, fucking Cristiano Ronaldo when he first broke onto the scene, Luis Figo, right? These are fucking proper wingers. They beat their full back, they cut inside, they put a ball in the box and they set up a goal, or they cut inside and shoot and score. Anthony Gordon runs and 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 does fuck all with it. Absolutely nothing with it whatsoever. But he lives in this charmed existence that people think he's this great player. He hasn't scored a goal in the Premier League in open play for a fucking year. He's absolutely bang average, overrated. And what the club should have done was sold that Scouse prick to fucking Liverpool when they had the chance and not had to sell Elliot Anderson and Yankuba Minter, who both have higher ceilings than this fucking idiot who we've kept at the football club. And I'm sorry to go in hard on him, right? But he's not doing the fucking business. Harvey Barnes is having to play out of position every game to accommodate this tit who's doing fuck all. And then he takes him off on 60 minutes, moves Barnes over the left and prays Barnes has got a goal and to save the day for him. Here's another thought, Edward. Grow a pair of fucking nuts. Tell him he's not playing unless he plays on the right and play Barnes on the left, because that's what you should do. But that's a weak manager that doesn't do it. And that's what annoys me the most about Howe, is he's weak. Just get Tim's comment here. It says he wait till the summer. We'll be trying to manage player departures. Gordon, he can fucking go, Tim, as far as I'm concerned. Tino, I think, has already made his mind up to go. Tonali wants to go as well. Lewis Hall is the big worry, because if we don't get Champions League football, which, newsflash, I don't think that we will, I don't even know if we'll get Europa, to be honest with you, the way we're playing. I think that Hall might get sniffed out by one of the other clubs, because the way he's playing, and if he goes to the World Cup and has a good World Cup, which I think he will do if he stays fit, we could be banging trouble. Dazza says Gordon's supposed to be cutting down his right. What's the point when he can't cross his left at pace? I just don't see what Anthony Gordon's bringing to the team. I really don't. Even the penalties, right? You know what annoys me about the penalties that he scores, Mark, right? Nick Voltemorda would have been taking them penalties if Gordon wasn't playing. And do you know what? After the one he took in the top bins, I know he hit the bar in the shootout, I'd expect Nick Voltemorda to have about 15 goals now this season if he'd been taking them pens. Anthony Gordon is not the player that the press think he is, that the pundits think he is, that some of the fans think he is. He's not that player, man. There's a player there, Lauren Robert. Anthony Gordon couldn't light Lauren Robert's fucking tab. That's how fucking shite he is compared to Lauren Robert. He's rubbish, man. He's rubbish, man. But
you mentioned the no goal from outfield play. I mean, I think it's mid January of last year. In his last 52 Premier League games, he has 8 goals and 6 assists. Bear in mind that 3 of those 8 goals have been penalties.
What's Barnes got?
He has 5 goals from open play in 52 games and 6 assists. It's awful. It's so poor a return for a player that is much vaunted by an awful lot of people in the press, and
it's incredible.
The manager as well.
It's incredible. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. I really don't.
No, I mean Harvey Barnes has 14 in 55 games.
Goals.
What did I say?
Goals, 14 goals in 55 games, did you say?
Yeah, 14 goals in 55 games. Now you've got to look at minutes, I guess, as well. So in terms of minutes played, for Barnes, that's 14 goals in about 32 games. So in just under 1 in 2 for but yeah, for a wide player, that's not bad at all. I'm just going to quickly bring Gordon's back up as well. For Gordon, it's 8 goals in 40 games. So we'll call it 5 because I'm not including the penalties in this. It's 5 goals in 40 games as opposed to 14 in 30. Like there isn't a comparison in terms of output in that regard. You
No.
have Barnes on the pitch. You've got a much better chance of getting shots and getting goals. Gordon he's done fuck all for so long now. It's unbelievable. He turns up.
Drops
Yeah.
his comments just killed me there. So, so yeah. He's
About
not,
much use as.
yeah, he's not good enough. His choices that Gordon will have twice those numbers if he realised he was better on the right. Maybe that's the issue, Charlie. Maybe he's got to get over himself and play where he should play for the team, and he would get more assists and he would possibly get more goals as well. You know what I mean? But Gordon thinks the worst thing that happened to Anthony Gordon, Mark, was England. It's the worst thing that happened to Anthony Gordon because it's took him to some crazy deluded place in his mind where he thinks he's on par with some of the best players in Europe, and he's not. He really is not.
No.
Shouldn't he be in the England squad, mate?
Look at when he was and I'll agree with an awful lot of it. For an awful lot of the last year and a half, he hasn't looked bothered.
No.
Particularly when you get the Champions League, that he suddenly rocks up and he comes alive. That season, 23-24 season, 11 goals and 10 assists in 35 games. I mean, it's a phenomenal return for him.
He was brilliant in that season.
But he's just fallen off the face of it. But he looks like he can't be bothered. He looks like he doesn't care. And whether or not that's true, that's the optics of it. He just looks like he's playing out his time to move on.
I think
he'll be before.
Yeah, exactly. Be honest. So Gaz is making a good point there. We talk about this. When he whipped that ball in for Isak against Arsenal on the right, shows he can do it. Shows he can play on the right. But I mean, to be honest with you, I think it was a little bit of gamesmanship by Howe when he kind of said, Anthony doesn't like to play there. I think it was like a subtle little dig at him, really, in many ways, to say I don't want people to not realize that you're not fucking playing there because it's not my problem. It's you that doesn't want to play there. But it does show weakness by Howe because he's got Murphy there who can create from the right. Alanga, yes, has been crap, right? But he started to show a little bit of something when he's come off the bench last couple of weeks, right? Fucking drop Gordon. Drop Gordon for Barnes. Put Barnes on the left and Alanga on the right and say, right, go on, Anthony, show me what we can do. I probably wouldn't do it in Paris, but you could have done it against Villa at home, with the crowd behind him and getting behind Alanga and seeing what he can do from the from the start. But I agree with Sean there. Kieran Dyer, Mark too. He does remind me a lot of Kieran Dyer does Anthony Gordon, where gets a few England caps and thinks he's something fucking special. I mean, to be fair, Dyer was class on his day, but again, he was somebody who thought he was better than he was. And I think I don't know if it's weird with Gordon because he might be a good lad, but the body language and everything else and the way, not playing in the position, it all looks really bad. And then when your output is so poor, like the thing about Isak is, right, Isak was a bell end, right? We could see he was a bell end. He was arrogant, he was cocky, he was full of himself, right? But he was class and he was scoring goals and he was looking mint and he was a match winner. And when you get at that level, kind of go, well, yeah, he's a dick, but he's really good. You know what I mean? So he's got to be in the team. It's a bit like Victor Osimhen, isn't it? Victor Osimhen, the reason he's playing for Galatasaray is because he's a fucking helmet, right? That's what it is. He's a brilliant footballer. He should be playing for a top European side. I'm not saying Galatasaray aren't that, but he should be playing for a bigger team than them, and scoring goals. But he's out there in Turkey because of his fucking entourage and all the other bollocks that goes around it. But I suppose the issue, we're kind of gone off on a tangent there about being soft. The problem is with Newcastle is we're not getting the best out of the players that we have at the minute. The manager's tactically inept. I mean, before we move on to transfers, Mark, I mean, some rotten games coming up. I think one of the lads in the comments before put, we could get no points before Brentford. And at that point, we could be 16th in the league. Out of the Carabao Cup, out of the FA Cup, and then obviously have a Champions League qualifier to play or a playoff to play. But I mean, where are all the Kool-Aid swiggers then when we're 16th in the league with only a handful of games left to go? Where's all the Kool-Aid gone then?
Yeah, and you almost start to see the the writing on the wall at that point, don't you? Because
I would
if
say.
the way things drop, and things then have to change, and I think that managerial change then definitely comes in the summer. You
I
know,
think it's coming anyway.
I think so. I think there's the point in which that the owners will look at the way things have gone and said, you've taken us as far as you can. You know, thank you for everything that you've done. You've been brilliant. You were the start of this process, and I'll go back to what I said when he came in, and there were we talked about the ridiculousness of Talksport at that point, laughing at it. Look, Eddie Howe was the right manager at the
He
right
was at the
time for
time.
the club where they were, because they were a mess. He came in, he stabilised, he's taken them on to probably things that an awful lot of fans wouldn't have expected at all. Nobody expected Champions League football after the second season. I don't suppose anybody really expected a cup wins quite so quickly. But there comes a point, and you touched on it earlier. There comes a point where you've got to your limit. We see that with players. We saw that with the likes of Almiron, that sort of thing. That even the managers get to a point where they can do no more. And I think we sort of got to that point. He's got time. There's time to turn it around. There's time to suddenly develop, and change things this season. And all of a sudden, we could be, people laughing in our faces for it. But you've only got to look at the performances over the last of this season and the tail end of last season to go, it's not right. Things aren't right. Things are stale. Things just aren't working for him now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, moving on to the the next bit, which blew my mind really. I mean, we're sitting here on the 26th of January, and the window closes next Tuesday. Is it the 2nd of February? I think it is, as memory serves. But there's radio silence really from Newcastle United in terms of signing any players. Even the links have died down now. There was a link earlier on to Edison, wasn't there, from Atlanta, which I don't know if that's going to happen. But there seems to be nothing coming out of the football club, despite the injuries, despite Tino's injuries, despite Cher's injuries, despite Joe Linton with his groin injury. We don't know how serious that is. Despite the weakness and the holes in the squad defensively, there still doesn't seem to be any kind of movement from the football club. And then we go back to the age-old question. He was asked in a press conference. He was asked by a few journalists. I think Craig Hope asked him. I think the Geordie Journal lads asked him. I think even Keith Downey asked him as well, which is where I saw the quote. So they asked about a number 10 and, the need for a number 10 to spark that creativity, break down those low blocks. And you mentioned it before, the Geordie Journal's even said it, Mark, that Howe's not a number 10 manager. He just doesn't seem to play with those players. He had Jack Wilshere, didn't he, at one point on loan from Arsenal, couldn't get the best out of him. Harry Wilson as well, kind of got rid of him when he could. But we don't seem to be moving for any players this window, which is concerning in itself. But when Howe was asked about number 10, he said, oh, well, that's not, for this window. There's the quote there. So he said, we have the players we have, and we need to find a solution with those players. There's no point in me thinking we need another type of player at this point, because it's not going to happen. The next chance we have to change the squad is the summer. So it's about getting the best out of the players we have. Now, just pause that for a second, right? If we don't add anybody in this window, Mark, defensively, never mind defensively, where the final third is lacking massively, right? If we don't add players for depth in this window, that is fucking reckless by the club and the manager. And we're back in the same situation we were a couple of years ago, where he won't use the rest of the squad. He won't use the youth. He won't change things around. He's burning players out. We've already seen Bruno's ankle go, Joe Linton's groin go, Tonali, he had a hamstring problem at the weekend. Lewis Hall sometimes limping. Every time I see Lewis Hall limp, I'm sweating. I'm going, oh my God, fucking LB, please be okay. Tino Livramento's out injured. They burnt him out. He come back. They burnt him out again. Botman's had burnout issues. If we don't sign players this window, who's to blame here, Mark? Is it the manager or is it the ownership? Who's to blame for not adding in this window?
Well, both. ultimately, I mean, look, if it may be how going, I don't want anybody else. Like, there's nobody I want right now. I don't want to jeopardize what could come in the summer. It could be the club going, we're actually not willing to bankroll you during January because
What about
we want
that comment
this
as
for
well by Pontmag? Sorry, what about that comment? Do you think the board have decided that he's
maybe.
gone and they're not going to back
Well,
him?
that's kind of where I was getting to there. So
Yeah.
if it's how that doesn't want them now, and he wants to to sort of rebuild in the summer, but it could very well be the club going, actually, we're not going to give you 50, 60, 70 million now of money that's available because you're not going to
You
be
blew
here.
200 summer. You blew 200, mate.
Yeah, I mean, an awful lot of money went out the door over the summer, and it's brought very, very little return. So, but for me, there is still a depth issue. There is only one true fit first team left back at the club because he's reluctant to use Alex Murphy for some godforsaken reason. Dan Burn is back, so that bolsters the centre back, but there's still no Lascelles, who's Well, Paqueta wants to go back to Brazil, so that's not a.
Well, yeah.
I think that's a non-starter. Mateta, they're talking 35 to 40 million. They're not going to go and drop 35 to 40 million on another centre forward after having spent 120 on the two that they've got.
They should have spent on him before they spent on one of the two, I think.
Well, yeah, there is that argument. But for me, the squad depth is further back. Bruno, there's no creative spark. There's something in there that's severely lacking. But defensively, you've got obviously Trippier is fit, but he's aged. Tino can't stay fit.
He's greater than you, Trippier.
Botman, yeah, exactly. Botman and Burn have both had spells out, and they've both had multiple spells out over the last couple of years. Obviously, Chow's come in and looks great, but Cher's out long term. Lascelles will never see again. Emil Kraft's working his way back. He's not really an option to fill in there. There's no left back option to take over from Lewis Hall if Lewis Hall needs a rest, which he probably does. There were passes yesterday where he played that he looked shattered. He looked tired in that, and probably could have done with being brought off himself. And I know I suggested that he might have played further forward, but there are games like that where you go, well, we can give these lads a rest. Yes, you can play Miley back there, but you lose something in midfield. We saw that yesterday. I thought Miley was very, very good in midfield.
Yeah, some good passes.
But there are still those gaps in that squad, and there's depth that definitely need to the space in there to fill that depth. Somebody to cover Malik Chow, because if Malik Chow goes down, there's no right-sided centre back at that point. You're going to end up back in a point where it's Botman and Burn again, and they'll be the only two centre back. I need to say centre forwards there, centre backs that will be available. So it is a hell of a risk going into this part of the season where there's still Champions League football to come. Regardless of the result on Wednesday, there's still two more Champions League games at the very least, both in February. There's the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. There's still the FA Cup fourth round. There's still 15 games left in the Premier League season. The season's not dead, far from it. It could be picked up, but they've got to have something to go, well, we need some depth. We need a spark. We need something to rally a little bit. And it's just for them to go, that's it. We're not doing anything else now. When there's the injury issues, when there's this lack of spark within the club, reckless is the right word, Chris.
Well, trade players then. There's interest in Joe Willock this window. Sell Joe Willock and use that money. I mean, we were talking about this. Harry Wilson's out of contract at the end of the summer. He's 28 years old. He gets goals. Exactly. He gets goals. He can take a free kick. He can play on the right. He can play in behind the striker. He can do something out of nothing. Fucking swap deal. Do a swap deal. If they want Joe Willock, we'll have Harry Wilson. Job done. We've got a super sticker and from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that.
Thank you, mate.
We did have a great comment there as well, actually. A brilliant comment from Urban Mexican that says, I remember Tim Sherwood was skeptical when we signed Gordon. He called him a straight liner he's not got a trick. I've been saying that ever since we signed the lad as well. Turns out he was spot on. He was spot on, Urban. He absolutely was, because he hasn't got a trick. And wingers need a trick. They absolutely need a trick. But it is really concerning, because you look at the games, that are left. I'll just rattle some of them off, really, just to try and figure out where these points are coming from, really, Mark. Just as we're talking. Forget the Champions League. We'll just solely do Premier League here, right? So, I mean, you can forget the Carabao Cup second leg. I don't think we're going to get anything at the Etihad. There's more chance of Margot Robbie and Megan Fox doing fucking What's Going On next Monday, I think, than us getting anything at the fucking Etihad. So you got there'll be loads of tuning in for that, by the way. Don't get too excited, guys. I'm only joking. That ain't going to happen. If we win at the Etihad, fuck me. We'll have to get Margot and Megan on. So we've got Liverpool at Anfield next Saturday. Again, they're not in great form, but that's a concern. Brentford at home, you've got to try and fancy us to get something at home. But, Brentford are in a good season, good form, and they're not going to come to Newcastle. They're not going to come to St James's Park and just lay down. Spurs away. Spurs are Spursy, so you never know what you're going to get there. Then there's the Etihad again in the Premier League, which we've got a rotten form guide at. Then we've got Everton at St James again, which you fancy the points at. Manchester United at home. Now, I'd have said to you a few weeks ago, I'd have fancied that. But the way Man U are playing under Geordie boy Michael Carrick, they might come to St James's Park and do us over. Then we've got Chelsea away. They've got the derby, and they need to turn up a shite side better than they did in the first derby, or they're in big trouble. Yep. Palace away, who are in a little bit of kind of self-destruct mode at the moment, losing their best players and stuff like that. Then we've got Bournemouth at home that Eddie Howe can't seem to beat. Arsenal away, who are probably going to win the league this season. Brighton at home, which we always do shit against. Forest away, who, again, are a bit patchy. West Ham at home. Now, you would have fancied that as a home banger, but the spanked us at their place. And then we end the season with Fulham away. So you look at them fixtures, just spitting them out loud. And the way Newcastle are playing right now and their inability to win away games, I just don't know where the points are coming from. To get top five, I wrote that off months ago, and I'm doubling down. I'm not changing my mind at all. I'm absolutely not. I don't see us getting top five. I don't even see us getting top seven. I think we'll finish, if we're lucky, 8th or 9th. I generally do feel that way, and especially if we don't add in this window.
Yeah, low end of the top half, probably. The way things, so. I mean, it just the away games themselves. When you've only got 2 away wins all season, and draws against Villa, Leeds, Bournemouth, and Wolves, then the away games to come. I mean, they're all teams that need something as well. They're all teams that realistically are going to be fighting for something, possibly save for Tottenham. But even they're close enough to that. So they need a pickup from somewhere. And if they bring in a couple of players in the window as well, they might turn a corner. The home form is what should keep things as they are. But again, this just goes back to, it's just more of the same. It's the wins at home, but have been really uninspiring. I mean, you can just go back through the wins that have already been there, and other than the City game, we've not really had anything to kind of shout about with those, have we?
No, so pretty average.
So I'm with you. I can't see an abundance of wins, and certainly that where you pick up anything in this league this year is you have to go on this run. I just don't see that happening. No. If you don't put together 5 or 6 straight wins, then you're not going to be in that shout for the top end or the top European places. Conference League at a push, but even that's going to be more difficult without putting together any sort of run of form.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult to see, where this is going to turn around, where this is going to change, especially with no new faces and refresh squad in the window. But man, God, that was depressing. So let's get stuck in then. So to some outside of Newcastle United talk. This is a part of the show where we do dive out of Newcastle United and we talk about everything that is out of tune. But just before we do that, we've got a new feature this week and we had to do it. Now, you could probably throw Newcastle United's referee into this situation because he was fucking awful. But we've got a new tactic or new part of the show, which is called Really Ref. And this is the part of the show where we talk about fucking shocking refereeing decisions. And Mark, I'm going to hand this over to you because there was one particularly shocking referee this weekend in the Crystal Palace Chelsea game who seemingly, wore his shades to work because he couldn't see some of the most blatant decisions you've ever seen in your life. You've got him there to pull up, mate. Pull him up. Let's have a look at some
Well,
of these shocking decisions.
I've got the one, and this is it's Darren England who's the referee, and
awful man.
Whoever was on VAR as well. I can't remember who they said was on VAR, but I think it was Darren England was
Stevie
on
Wonder
as the referee. It may have been. Earth, how has that not been reviewed to be a red card? He clearly, he's hurdled the player and then launches his foot back into the Palace player. This isn't 0-0 as well. So this is before Chelsea get their their goals ahead because they go 3-0 up. But at that point, I think Caicedo's not long been booked. And you just look at that and you go, what on earth are you looking at? And then comes the bit later on in the game where Chelsea get a penalty. And I think it's João Pedro takes a shot and it hits the Palace player's got his arm back down by his side. It hits his arm. And fair enough, it hits his arm. The Palace player can do absolutely nothing about it. And Darren England doesn't give the penalty and credit at that point. But then VAR look at it and they go, no, we suggest you go
20 minutes.
And what they've said, what they were basically saying is that the VAR have actually talked the referee round. Is the ref didn't want to give it, and he's ended up doing this announcement to say that it's handball, but it's accidental, and therefore it's only a yellow card and not a red card. But it's not a handball. Like, it hits him. Yes, it hits him in the arm. Fair enough. But that cannot be a handball that gives away a penalty because there's just no. You may as well just run around with your arms tied behind your back because there's absolutely nothing you can do if you've already got your hands down by your side and that happens. It's just shambolic. But the red card in that, and particularly goal, I think for Palace fans because Adam Wharton then gets sent off for 2 yellow cards, which was fair enough. They're probably both yellow card offences at that point. But to not give a red card for that stamp is absolutely shocking. And again, just highlights how shit the referees have been.
Well, they're absolutely awful. Yeah, and I think poor Adam Wharton's probably getting a bit pissed off at Palace, really, to be fair to him, because he's a really good player, and I think he'll be on his bike in the summer as well. But we'll move on to he definitely. We'll move on to the next category, which is Out of Tune, where we talk about things outside of the world in Newcastle United. There, we just thought we'd throw that ref one in for a little bit of difference. Let us know what you guys think about it. But we've got to start here. So, love him or hate him, Kylian Mbappe scores goals, right? People say he's the best footballer in the world right now. He is arguably one of the biggest pricks in football as well because he's a very unlikable character. Probably got Xavi Alonso the sack. Probably definitely got Xavi Alonso the sack. He scored was it a Paninka and he dedicated to his teammate who tried one in the African Cup of Nations and fucked that up. But there was a tweet that went out on X. Now, as you probably noticed, I don't spend a lot of time on X anymore, as evermore, because I'm just sick of arguing with fucking morons that have got as much intelligence as the shit skid stains on the edge of your toilet pan. I just can't be bothered with it. So this post came up, though, and without a tune, you got to do it. Now, this fucking maniac, somebody actually retweeted this, looked at the account. I think he was over in India or something like that. And he put this up because Kylian Mbappe just got their 415 career goals. It's a brilliant achievement for a lad his age. It really is, right? But let's get it right. He's been playing in a fucking Farmers League for most of his career where he was scoring shitloads of goals every single week, you know. There's a boy on loan from Real Madrid just scored a hat-trick. We'll talk about him in a little bit. So Kylian Mbappe has had a lot of those 400 goals in a league where it was way below his quality, right? But he scored 415 goals and obviously went beyond R9, I beg your pardon. I saw that Ronaldo went autopilot against R9, who got 414 goals. And this sums up the modern day football fan for me. This fucking idiot said, we need to have a serious discussion on how overrated R9 was. Now, as two blokes in their 40s here who watched R9 burst onto the scene when Bobby Robson signed him from Brazil to PSV, then took him to Barcelona. We remember that first season, Mark, at Barcelona, 37 goals in 34 games or something. Back when players could fucking half you, back when you were playing on pitches that were absolutely battered like building sites. And this guy was absolutely incredible. If he hadn't blew his knee out, he would have smashed all the records that Ronaldo and Messi would still be chasing to this day. This guy was the phenom. He was incredible. Pace, strength, ability. The ball was stuck to his foot. His feet were that quick you couldn't keep up with him. And even when he done his knee and come back, even when he was fat as fuck and was drinking shots and licking tequila shots off strippers' tits probably in Madrid, he was still the best striker in the world. And for these little wet wipes to even question that, man, it hurts my brain. It really does. What was your thoughts on that ridiculous statement, man?
Fucking blasphemous for me. R9 is
mad.
I think for me, he's the best pure centre forward I've ever seen in my
goat. He's the
life.
goat. He is the goat. 100%.
He was everything you wanted a centre forward to be. He was quick. He was powerful. He could use both feet. He knocked players. He was skillful. This is the other thing as well. He wasn't just powerful and he ran quickly and that. He was fucking skillful as well.
Oh,
he had
how many times did he go around the keeper? How many times did he go around the keeper with that step over, man? Every single time.
And that ability to finish from anywhere, he was just sensational. And the injuries robbed us of much more of him because he was amazing. Just an absolute phenomenon. And to even talk, look, Mbappe's been great, and you're right. He's played in a pretty shit league. To be fair, he's gone to another one it's pretty similar. Outside of the top sort of four, there ain't anything else in that league, to be honest with you. So I've no doubt that Mbappe could do it anywhere in the world. But
what you tried to say, Mark? What you tried to say? Could he do it on a Tuesday night against Stoke?
Cold Tuesday night against Stoke, yeah, exactly.
Cold Tuesday night against Stoke, it rain.
I've no doubt he could. But R9 is just fucking brilliant. I mean, R9 for me is just the best.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. We've got a super chat in there from Stephen. Thank you very much, Stephen. Very generous of you,
mate. Buddy.
You play 4-3-3 when you have wide players, as Paul Weedy says it all. Any other manager would have a 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree, for instance, or a 4-2-2-2 with double pivot. If a bum like me can see it, how can't Eddie Howe? Well said, mate. And that's what I'm saying. Why can't he see it? But thank you very much for that, the super chat, mate. Oh, remember that, watching Gazzetta Football Italia on Sunday morning, watching R9. I mean, I still couldn't believe when Barca sold him and he went to Inter. And I was like, what the hell are they doing? They're selling the best player in the world. And he went in and he was mint. And that's when he'd done his first bad knee, wasn't it, at Inter? I think he'd done his first bad knee ligament then. And
then did it twice, didn't he? He did it and then came back and he did it again. But he was, watching a Football Italia back in the day, it is my ringtone and will stay my ringtone for an awful long time because I fucking love that tune.
You love
it's just the glory days. I mean, Italian football back then was sensational. The players that gravitated to Serie A was unreal. What you could the number of players you could just reel off every week, and didn't matter what team. There was just teams packed full of brilliant players.
Shadow of a doubt.
But he was just
Leo's bang on as well. If you could pick a nine for the past, it would definitely be R9. There's no doubt about that. World class player, shit haircut, but world class player.
Yeah,
what was that haircut?
Was it in 2002 when he had that sort of thing at the front of his head? I mean, Jesus Christ, awful. Mate. But yeah, I mean, regardless of who he'd have played for, I guess when you're looking at it back in those days as an old man,
definitely.
You're probably
you are great after all, as Chipper says.
Thanks, man. but you're looking at probably you've gone to somewhere like Man United. Fuck, I'd watch him every week, like genuinely just to watch him because he's just that good.
Good segue into Manchester United, mate. Well done. The segues are back. I love a segue.
Hey.
So yeah, I hate to say it, but are Manchester United back? That's them beating Man City and now beating Arsenal 3-2 with Michael Carrick at the helm. They look like they're playing with freedom. They look like they're playing with the handbrake off. Mbuemo, Cunha all looking good. Bruno Fernandes looking good. Kobe Mainu coming back into a game. It's concerning. How long can this bubble last, mate, for Michael Carrick?
Well, I mean, it is too early to suggest they're back. I think, weirdly,
United, we're back. United, we're back.
The two games. All right,
I had to do it.
The two games that they've played have probably suited them the way because the teams that will come at them, they'll leave the space that they'll allow them to get behind. The funniest thing about that game yesterday was, well, it may not be funny for Manchester United.
Arteta's
what
reaction.
Was this? No. It was Cunha swearing at the camera after he scored the winner.
Very nice.
Which may land him in some trouble. So yeah, but I mean, it's always glorious to see Arteta lose himself at that point. But
yeah,
I think ultimately those two games have suited them the way that City and Arsenal play. That they're a lot higher. So Man United, I've done it again. Man United can sit deeper and attack them on the
everybody
break.
Everybody in the chat, give Mark a
yellow
card,
please.
Back
out. That's twice this year I've done that.
Disgrace. Yeah, that's a good shout by Martin, to be fair. Carrick will get them into Europe. They'll probably give him the job full time, then stack them by Christmas. That is a great. Thank you very much, Martin. You've cheered me up now, mate. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. But yes, that is definitely like them. And speaking of the other so-called red giant of the Premier League, as you might have noticed, Liverpool are struggling this season. Had we beat Villa at the weekend, which pissed me off even more, would have actually gone above them on goal difference, which I really wanted. I didn't just want to beat Villa to piss off the sad, weird, creepy Villa fans on TikTok with Harry Potter glasses and pube haircuts that seem to do more content on Newcastle than they do Aston Villa. I wanted to beat them to go ahead of Liverpool as well, which would have been really enjoyable. But sorry, the lads let me down. Thanks for that, boys. But Liverpool are having a real stinker this season. Their signings haven't worked. Hello, Alex. I hope you're feeling well. Not too well, though. Don't play next week or Saturday. But one player who's really struggling this season is the so-called best defender that's ever played in the Premier League, ever, according to these modern football fans, like the one who did that post about R9. Now, we were lucky enough to see, Tony Adams and Sol Campbell and Rio Ferdinand and John Terry, Nemanja Vidic. You're talking about some brilliant centre halves. Absolutely brilliant. Jaap Stam, even when he was at Man U for a bit, was a brilliant centre half.
John Boomsong.
Yeah, well, maybe not him. Jonathan Woodgate when he was fit. But
yes.
Yeah, we saw some brilliant centre halves, right, playing in the Premier League. And the modern day FIFA fan base is what I call them, think that Virgil van Dijk is just like the best player that's ever lived, right? Did you see the Bournemouth goal? The ball come over the top there. I don't know what he was trying to do. If you tried this at five-a-side, they'd have called you a wank and made you buy the round in the pub when you finished the game, because he just kind of towed it down. I think it was Adam Scott, who looks a good player for Bournemouth, actually. He got the ball back across. Evan Nielsen comes in and smashes it. But then Virgil van Dijk, because thus is the ego and the size of the man, decides to stand there and blame his teammates, even though it's all your fault, Dick Van Dijk, for being shit. So when he's not twerking like fucking Miley Cyrus, when he's trying to mark people, he's putting shit touches on and then blaming his teammates. I mean, are we seeing the demise of the self-imposed best centre-half ever to play in the Premier League, Mark? I hope
Let's
so.
not also miss out that he was the player that played on the Bournemouth player to keep him on side for the second goal.
Oh, yeah.
And then complained like crazy for the winner that he was blocked. He's been awful. Like he's 2 years ago, he was excellent. You can't deny it. He was excellent, but I think he's been. I mean, his numbers been dropping for the last couple of seasons. Anyway, he's not held by those around him, but he just this whole stat of he's never been dribbled past. No, because he runs away from a player that starts to dribble the football. Like he's running backwards quicker than Linford Christie runs forwards.
It's so weird.
It's unbelievable. And this whole thing where he tries to stick his arse out to try and block him forward, he's unbelievably overrated. He doesn't. I don't think he's fit enough to lace John Terry or Nemanja Vidic or Rio
No,
Ferdinand
no.
or I mean, even go back to that initial Man U side. That the Pallisters and Bruces of that side were phenomenal in that team. Different types
Yeah,
of players, obviously, but if you go back through that period, I think Tony Adams was class. It just
it was.
baffles us. You can look at him and go, yeah, he's the
Yeah.
best we've
But
ever seen in
as
the Premier
Ian
League.
says, he had about 3 good seasons, really, and then everyone thinks he's the best centre half that's ever lived. And even like you see, like pundits and stuff who played the game with some of these great players, like Jamie Redknapp and guys like that, and they just go, "Oh yeah, it's got to be Virgil." And you're like, "What are you talking about? No, it's not at all." Like, I
No.
don't know whether they're doing that just because they think they have to do it, because that's trendy and that'll get the likes and the clicks. You can't say anything else, But unbelievable. He's nowhere near as good. Nowhere near as
No,
good.
I've just seen that from Gaz as well. Yap
Yeah,
Stam,
Stam was
forgot
better.
about. He was class.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Stam was better than Van Dijk.
I'd probably go as far as to say I actually prefer Sammy Hyypiä as a centre back for Liverpool than I do than him. I just think he's a much better defender.
Absolutely. He's near Aaron Hughes, though,
Opinion.
is he? He's near Aaron Hughes. He's not as versatile as Aaron Hughes, is he, to be fair,
No.
mate? So, yeah, we don't want to get too carried
Who
away
is?
with the praise. Who is as good? I did laugh. Was it I think it was the lads from Magpie 24/7 when they were saying Louis Miley was the new Aaron Hughes, and I was like, that's kind of an insult to Louis Miley, to be fair, because Aaron Hughes was a good utility player, but I don't think he was as good of a player as Louis Miley. But I tell you who is a good player. Segue again. Get on the segue. Again. Who is a good player? And that is this young fella, Endrick, who is on loan from Real Madrid to Lyon in the French league, as I just said. Not a massively high standard. Now, Endrick was the next big thing. He was being kind of targeted as the next R9 or bigged up as the next R9, scoring loads of goals, breaking loads of records in Brazilian football, goes to Real Madrid, kind of get a sniff, typical Real Madrid, to go and sign Mbappe. The kid's not getting a sniff. He goes out on loan to Lyon of all teams, sits on the bench for a couple of games. Everyone's mugging him off on social media. He's gone from the bench at Real Madrid to the bench at Lyon. Comes and starts a game, I think, the other week. Looks fucking incredible. He's just running around players like he's taking the piss. They're not even there. Like he's trying to impress a last watching from the crowd. He's just megging guys, running around him, catching his own through balls, that kind of thing. And then didn't get a goal the other week. I think he got an assist or something, but didn't get a goal. He then plays at the weekend and gets a hat-trick, and fucking hell, how good does this kid look? I know it's League One, but mate, why weren't we sniffing around him on loan? Could we not have got Endrick on loan, really? Didn't our CEO used to work at Real Madrid? Couldn't you have pulled some strings, big David Hopp? Come on, lad, pull your finger out your arse, man.
Yeah, he does look very good. I was watching the game earlier, and look, the first finish is just a lovely little dink over the goalkeeper. His second finish, he runs in from about the halfway line and finishes under the keeper. He then wins and scores the penalty. He was electric. He could have had a couple more. He had a header really well saved. He had another shot that was turned away by the goalkeeper really, really well. And Mets just couldn't handle him. They really couldn't handle him. He just looks electric. And weirdly, in that game as well, you've got another player who scored, a certain Mr. Clivert.
Oh, I didn't know he really from Bournemouth. Has he got on loan there as well?
No. The other one. It's Ruben Clivert. So Ruben Clivert scored the second goal for Lyon. And then there's a young English player scored the other goal, and Tyler Morton, who went from Liverpool to Lyon.
Well, there you go.
There's a little bit of a weird thing. But yeah, I mean, it was a cracking game. Mets had their chances as well, scored 2 decent goals, but Hendrick was just... I mean, the kid looks like he will be exceptional.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, Real Madrid, if they've got him, what is he? I think he's like 17. Is he 17 or something daft like that? Or 18 years old, possibly? Round about that. If they've got him doing that, and then, they get Mbappe for a couple of seasons, they might do what they did with Ronaldo and sell him off to one of the Serie A clubs or even a Premier League club, and then bring Endrick back. They've just got a ready-made replacement. So it's good business by Real Madrid, even though I hate them and they are Ego FC. But very, very well done by them. But so look at some of the other Out of Toons that we've got to go through. There was now, far be it from us to push anyone else's podcast, because we'd rather you listen to us and watch us, really. But there is another little podcast out there that's run by
just a really tiny one,
just a small one, gets marginally more viewers and listeners than we do. Yeah, just a couple. It's called the Overlap. Yeah, it's called the Overlap. Now, sometimes the Overlap isn't really worth listening to. They've got weird guests on there that maybe don't float your boat, but this time there's some Geordie royalty on there. It is the lads. It's Ant and Deck on the Overlap. I've started to watch a bit of it. Mark's probably watched more than me.
I have watched it all.
They've come into that show. They're just top lads. They're class acts, man, aren't they? And they represent the Geordie nation so well, and they talk about Newcastle so passionately as well. They're just two mad Newcastle fans. They're trying to get Roy Keane and I'm a celebrity, which I do think will be quite funny in all fairness in many ways. But yeah, I'm actually going to watch that Roy Keane movie, right? I wasn't that keen on the concept of it, but I've seen so many trailers and I need to watch that movie with him and Mick McCarthy. That is on my to-do list. That's on my bucket list, that one.
That is another good Out of Toon, actually, because I'd seen them talking about it on the telly the other day, and I was like,
good.
They've made a movie about.
Oh, it looks really good. It looks really good.
I want to see it now.
It does.
Yeah.
No, the clips are great. The guy doing is brilliant at Roy Keane as well. Apart from the fact he's 6'4", but he's very good. He's very good at Roy Keane. But yeah, nice to see the lads filling the Overlap with some Geordie banter as well, I must admit, which was they're
really good value for it as well.
Absolutely, they're the top class. But another segue, I tell you, wasn't great value. If you're a gambling person as well, bet responsibly. If you are, normally betting on Bayern Munich is a home banker because they just win games, don't they? Sadly, not at the weekend, Mark, didn't they? Bayern Munich lost for the first time at the weekend. Harry Kane and co getting done over in the Bundesliga. And yeah, how will they cope, mate? How will they cope with losing a game?
Well,
how are they going to get back from this? Is Company getting sacked? What's going on?
Shocking. I mean, it's shocking that they've only got 16 wins and 2 draws in the league this season. They've conceded 2 goals a week. They've only conceded 14 goals before then. I mean, they've scored. I still can't get over the fact they've scored 72 goals in the league this season, which is nearly double the next highest, which is I think it's Eintracht Frankfurt, who've got 39, and you just go, it's ridiculous, and it pretty much is at the moment. It's a one club league because it's Bayern and everybody else, but it was Augsburg that beat them 2-1 at Dortmund, I think at Bayern, I think it was, and. Yeah,
it does sound like a beer, actually. Ian says it's a fucking public. Augsburg does sound like a pint, doesn't it? I'll have 2 Augsburgs, please. That does sound like a pint when you're at the bar, maybe. I'd drink that. Yeah. Sounds nice. Well, pint Augsburg. Yeah, sounds good to me, mate. But yeah, as you say, mate, I don't think it's going to derail their chances of winning the Bundesliga in many ways.
No, I don't think the wheels have fallen off that particular bus.
Well, got a comment there from Wilf. Breaking news: tomorrow's Chronicle says the Cells can leave if the right deal comes in. Fuck me, I'm not even sure the banker will ring from fucking Deal or No Deal Wilf to offer him a fucking exit from Newcastle United. If you're
50p,
yeah, 50 pence. That's 50 pence too much. Take the deal, Jamal. I mean, that's a weird move that for me. Being a good servant, but should have been gone years ago. And then they say now his body isn't ready. You're like, what the fuck is that even about, man? Just get him off the books, man.
Bizarre. And that as well, he can go if the right deal comes in. He's out of contract in the summer. Just
get rid
of him. He's not going to play again. He's not good enough to play again. Yes, the squad is short, and I know that kind of contradicts what I said earlier on, but fucking hell, he's a worthless. I'm not an individual, but he's a worthless squad spot at the moment because he's just not. He's being paid, not being used. Move him on. Just move him on.
I mean, if that anything about him, they should sell him to the Saudi league. But Dean thinks he might end up painting the Time Bridge. So, be good from that until he pulls a hamstring. He's out for 6 weeks. He can't come to work.
Can he do it quicker than the guys they've got doing it at the moment?
Oh my God, it's bloody terrible, isn't it? How long have they been doing that for? Honestly, we'll be at our youngest daughter's wedding, I think, by the time they finish painting that fucking thing, mate. The way they're going, Jesus, I tell you what. But I think that's us pretty much wrapped up, guys, for the first What's Going On. I get my teeth right there. The first What's Going On for a long time, but it's back every single week, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Come and join us next week at 9:30. We'll have more Newcastle United banter, more Out of Toon madness and everything else. But it's a huge week coming up before that. We've got the preview coming out tomorrow for the PSG game. We'll be back behind the mic for the live post-match reaction to PSG versus Newcastle, which I'm not feeling too confident about, spoiler alert, on that preview show. And then we'll have the preview for Liverpool, and we'll be back for post-match about the Liverpool game as well. And then it's City again next week. Wow, it's coming thick and fast, the games for Newcastle United. But it's all good for us doing the content. We love having you guys there. Remember to smash that subscribe button, hang on a little bit longer, help get us to the next milestone, hype the video, do all that you can. If you want to be a member as well, there's options down there for you. You can come and join the Discord group and everything else. And it's a nice, safe place to talk about Newcastle outside the world of social media, as is the chat in here. But from now, we're done. We are finished. We're going to go off and work on our Ready to Rumble Anthem Deck Tribute Act cover. And we'll be back next week for next What's Going On. See you later, guys. Have a better.
Psych.
Celebrate. They have done it.